Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I am Darrell Scott. Hi, everybody. Feeling kind of silly today. Our guest has some new music out called Universal Language. We're going to talk about a new single coming out soon. I'll let him tell you all about that. But ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Carl Cox. Carl, how are you today?
Hey guys, how you doing? How's
Good.
everything going over there?
It's cold, but
Yeah,
it's winter time.
I know it's cold here too in Jersey. It's like I think it was 29 today.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that's why I got my jacket on. It's like a little getting a little
Right.
chilly up in here. I'm ready to go south for a minute.
Let's how about Aruba? But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I have a question. Probably a lot of our listeners not sure about you. Tell us about how you got started, why you play the saxophone, da 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 da.
Yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, I was introduced to music really from kind of like my dad and my mom. They were basically singers in a church. My dad played little guitar, and they did like some local like broadcasts on like TV, and they did some worship stuff. And I was always around music. My grandfather played like saxophone for a bunch of different quartets, jazz quartets, but he learned by ear. So he never considered himself I guess a professional, but he used to play in Philly in different clubs and stuff. So I got introduced to music that way. Then fourth grade comes around and they say, okay, guys, we're going to do a demonstration on instruments. And then, I started picking up on a few of the instruments and I wind up settling on saxophone. And it was like, a match made in heaven. It's like I just started picking it up and I could instantly play things faster than the other kids. And it just felt like natural to me. I tried trumpet and I was terrible. And I tried trombone and I was even worse. So as soon as I picked up the sax, my grandfather said, try sax. And it just kind of felt like just perfect to me. And I excelled really quickly, and then had solos and, all throughout elementary school and got hooked up with a really great teacher around here named Bill Garton. And he took me to another height. And he was really the one that really kind of just gave me insight on how to really play. And from there on, I got my foundation and went to college and, started getting some connections through college and referrals and started meeting some people. Coincidentally, one of those people that I was playing with back in those days was a guy by the name of Adam Blackstone, who's a world-renowned now bass player.
Mm-hmm.
He just did a Walt Disney World special, and he was on the Tonight Show, and he does all the superstars, like the Super Bowls. He's the guy that does the Super Bowls and like all the halftime shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was introduced to a lot of different people in those days in Philadelphia, and I went to University of the Arts, got my master's in education, and continued to keep playing and reaching out to people and seeing how I could get connected. And I did some stuff in my early days with the Roots before they went Jimmy Fallon,
Right.
and got a chance to play with some really cool people. And it just kind of led up to where I'm at now, going solo a couple years ago. And all the other players that I've had the chance to play with. It's just, there's so many to name, but I was kind of fortunate to just kind of have a nice upward trend there.
So, did you say you only play by ear? So how did you learn music, or have you been trained and now you are past playing by ear?
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, I only learned how to read. I mean, that's how I learned through the school system,
Okay.
So I was learning how to read. I could read anything. And then I could read a chord change and I could play chord changes. And I was like the ultimate, trained musician. Um, but it wasn't until I met a guy on a gig. I was playing a gig, one of the first gigs I ever did. And he was playing percussion with a DJ. So it was like I don't know, a bar mitzvah.
Okay.
And they wanted to add a live element of like two musicians, but
Mm-hmm.
with a DJ. So they said, okay, you guys are going to play on top of all these DJ tracks. So I'm like, I'm going to play saxophone on like all these DJ tracks. So it was like so bizarre, and I didn't want to do it. But I met this percussionist, Dennis James, and on the breaks, I had to play. The DJ said, "Hey, play a little saxophone for the dinner break." So I had this little CD, and I put this background track on, and I'm jamming along by myself, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is so awkward. But turns out the percussionist had a smooth jazz group, and he heard me play, and he goes, "Hey man, I really like the way you play. You should come to Philly and try out for my band." And I said, "Sure." So I go into West Philly, and I go to this church, and I try out, and the guys are like, "Hey, what do you know?" And I said, "I don't know. You guys got music?" They're like, "No, man, we don't read music." They
Oh,
were all gospel musicians,
right.
so they didn't read music, but they were amazing, amazing musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "How about what's going on?" Marvin Gaye, I knew that, and they said, "Yeah, do that." So I went up playing that, and I said, "Man," they're like, "We love the way you play, man. It's like you're in." And that was the first time I learned really how to play by ear a lot because
Wow.
I had no choice,
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to retrograde myself and step back and say, you know, this is kind of what I really need. Like I have the formal training,
Right.
but now I got to get the raw feeling, and I'm learning it in church with amazing gospel musicians. So
Mm-hmm.
as a 19-year-old, I mean, I don't think I could have got a better experience learning how to play. All the notes and the theory was good, but these guys know how to play that stuff with feeling, and I learned a lot from that.
Is it tough to, I'll say, break that mold or get into that form?
Yeah.
I mean, are you when you're standing, playing, where's your mind? I'm okay. I'm being too technical. I got this feeling. I'm feeling too much. What are you thinking that?
Yeah, I mean, well, being a musician it's kind of hard because you got a lot of things you're thinking about. Like, what's that line that goes into the bridge? I got to remember how's that go? Uh, and then you're thinking like, what chord is that? And sometimes knowing too much is sometimes a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been lately. I mean, we never stop learning. It's always a continuous journey. But lately, I've been trying to just focus on just listening and singing, and just
Mm-hmm.
singing the part and not worrying about it. And then letting my theory and knowledge come into play um, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Like Charlie Parker is one of the best bebop sax players in the world, right? From
Right.
the 30s. And he said, you learn everything, you learn all the licks, all the ideas and the theory, and then you forget about it all. You just got to play. And that's a lot harder to do than you think. But there is a lot of I would say a lot of value in that. And I think when I write and I do a lot of my writing for my songs, I'm not thinking about the chords. I just listen and sing the parts that I want to play, and it always seems to come out.
I always have this question, and this might seem I don't know. Sometimes I think my questions are not the greatest, but there are these questions. So you write, you play, but you also produce. What
Mm.
exactly does the producer do on the record or for the record?
Well, I mean, a good producer will say, hey, you should bring this line back in at such and such time, and you should reintroduce that. Or a producer might say, like, take the bass out of that part, or let's do some cymbals here, and let's add this part more like a detailed landscape. Like you have a picture, but they're adding all the fine details. And a lot of times I do that myself because I kind of hear like this section I want to lead up more to go into the bridge, and I'll create lines that I think need to be there. So I'll let my co-writer hear it, and he also produces it. And a lot of times, he'll say just one small thing and that's it. Says, hey man, I don't need to say much. So we work really well together. There's two guys I really work with a lot is Chris Big Dog Davis, who's a two-time Grammy nominated producer. And he'll give me a track and I'll write to it and I'll send it back and he'll just put fire signs, Okay. And then I'm like, so you like it? Should I change anything? And I'm all freaking out,
Right.
And he goes, no, just send me the stems. Just send me the stems. That's perfect. So I was like, all right, let's go. I'm always looking for feedback.
Right.
But sometimes when you meet that person that you click with, it just works out. And we've done tracks like that song. You mentioned two songs, Red Light
and Red
Be
Light.
Mine, and they're both Chris Big Dog Davis productions.
Okay.
And we did both of them in one day, recorded and mixed.
A lot of times, and I tell this about me, I have difference of opinions with a lot of people. I don't go to concerts don't get me wrong, to see you. I go to hear you.
Yeah.
So I will sit back in a chair and I hold my head back. The wife is elbowing me. Wake up. I'm listening. Um, what does that feel like? You all of a sudden, here's the track, here's the paper, here's the lyrics, here's this, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're done. Do you ever go, once it's done, do you ever want to go, can we do it over again? I want to do a second take. You ever do that?
Yeah, I do. But I do it later. Like, I'll listen to it after we recorded it. I'll have it mastered and I'm feeling good about it. And after like 15 times, I'm like, I should go back and change that one part. But, I haven't changed anything since I've done that. But a lot of times, I was fortunate to work with a lot of Grover Washington Jr.'s band.
Mm-hmm.
So Gerald Beasley, Donald Robinson, Bill Jolly, Pablo Batista, all these guys I played with him. And the one thing that I noticed with Grover was, a lot of those songs he did was one take. And it was just that initial feeling that came across was like kind of like, well, I made some mistakes, but that's the way it should be presented because it felt good. And it felt like an instinct. So I always tell Big Dog, I said, look, when you send me a track, I'll listen to it once to see if I even like the vibe. And I immediately need to record what I hear. Because if I start second guessing myself, then I'll be racking my brain for months trying to figure something out. I need to hear something and get it on wax. And my wife is always like, all right, I guess you're going to be downstairs for 3 hours because you got a new truck, right? And I'm like, yeah, I got to get this out. So so yes, there probably are times when I was like one little section, I was like, but it was right overall, so I didn't mess with it,
Mm-hmm. Now,
So,
not only do you do your solo stuff and your stuff for your projects and everything, you play for a lot of different people. And we were talking about you were playing for Mesa, or no, it was I can't think of the name now.
Incognito.
Incognito.
Okay.
Um, and they're over in the UK or wherever, and all of a sudden they call you and they go, "Hey, we want you to be ready when we come over there." I always thought, is there an opportunity for you to get the music ahead of time so that you can rehearse with the band? But you say sometimes you kind of meet them there and they go, "Okay, here you go." Tell me a story like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost just like survival of the fittest. I mean, it's opportunity meets preparation, you know. So you're prepared, the opportunity comes, you got to show up. And a lot of times you're doing sound check, you have curfews, and you have a large ensemble with like them, they're like, I mean, that's like a 15-piece band.
Hmm.
So, you know, for them to sit and rehearse with their sax player would be kind of like meaningless because nobody wants to do that. They want to eat, they want to sound check, and they want to relax. So
Right.
I get the music and I sit with it and I learn it all. And then any different notes for the live show, the trumpet leader, sectional leader would say, "Hey, listen, cut that measure out," and they give me notes. And I'm just expected to go and play. And you know, that's what I did when the first time I played with them in Detroit. And it was like I had a couple solos and I just had to be ready to rip it and just do it, you know. So yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, honestly, but just got to be prepared for it.
I I can't believe that all of a sudden it's like you get off the plane, you walk to the venue, here we're doing this, and here's your solo. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's written in the part and then you got to play it. And then there's like this whole thing. It's like, all right, now the band's going to break down and it's just going to be you and the drums and you just got to play. And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is like really kind of just high pressure." But you know, you just bite your tongue and just try to forget about it and just enjoy the moment, you know, and then you hope that it was good enough.
But they keep calling you back, so it must have been good enough.
Oh yeah, yeah, it worked out great, and I've been pretty much I've done 2 tours with them already, and I'm about to do another one with them on a cruise in February, the Capital Jazz Cruise.
What's
So
what is that like when someone calls you and say, "We're going to go on a cruise"? I will ask this, um, as we talked about, questions just constantly are going through my mind. So they call you when, and they tell you that the dates are here for this cruise. Do you have to check your schedule to make sure that you are available? Or is it like, okay, we need your answer in the next 38 seconds?
yeah, it's like, you know, it's kind of like I don't think they need to know immediately, but just to get an idea to see, like, yeah, I'm interested. It's
Hmm.
usually like a Google Calendar, and
Hmm.
it'll say maybe or yes or no.
Right.
And if you click maybe, they'll follow up, and then
Hmm.
eventually they'll be like, okay, we need to book the flights. Are you in or are you out? And
Right.
then you got to decide, you know, if you can do it or not.
And then what is it like? Cruises are, let's say they're a week, 10 days. Is it work yet a vacation? Or is it vacation and you got to play a couple hours?
Um, you know, honestly, I- I've done these cruises before. I went on a cruise with Smokey Robinson one time. I was playing with him for a number of years, and we did a cruise, and it was like 7 days, and I think we might have played maybe 1 or 2 shows, and the rest of the time was ours.
Excuse
So
me. Wait,
yeah,
say that again. Say that
yeah,
again.
1 or 2 days, I think we played one show. So I think I played 2 shows. So, and that's how it is with these cruises, you know, because you can't, everybody's on the cruise at the same time. So
Right.
if everybody's going to see a band, chances are, if you play 2 shows in one day, uh, more than half the ship has probably seen you. So they usually have a wide variety of acts. So
Yeah.
you get to see the other acts, you get to mingle, it's kind of a nice gig.
Do you spend time having lunch or dinner or beverages with fans?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have done that. Yep. Yeah. And they'll say, "Yeah, I saw you at that show," and then we wind up hanging out and talking and finding out what they're from and where they live. And it's kind of a cool thing because everybody by the end of the trip kind of gets to know each other a little bit.
When I grow up, I want to be like you. Qu-
You don't
qu-
want to do that.
question is, question is, I got to grow up. You've got a new project coming out, called Universal Language.
Yeah.
Tell me about the project.
So yeah, so this project was a follow-up from my first one. My first one was a COVID baby. So I kind of had time to sit around my basement and come up with songs with my good friend Damon Bennett, who's Maysa's musical director.
Mm-hmm.
And we came up with some tracks and it went really well. I had some really good strong singles, and it reached like XM radio and watercolors, and I was like really fortunate to get that ad. So I was like, okay, we got something here. So I started doing more singles, and I wanted to come up with another project to follow up like 2 years later. And I came up with a bunch of other songs with Chris Big Dog Davis and Adam Hawley and my other friend Steve Turpak, who writes and arranges for a lot of the pop acts. And just wanted to do a really strong follow up to the album. And Universal Language, I mean, I came up with the title for obvious reasons. The title, that music is the universal language. But incognito, playing with them, and some of the guys are Italian, and
Mm-hmm.
the barrier of the language part for me was always kind of comical. They would say stuff and have these little sayings, and I was like, "What are you saying?" And I have no idea what you're talking about. And but when we got on the stage, I would play something, and they would go, "Oh yeah, yeah, I like that," and they immediately knew like what I was trying to go for, and so I was like, it really is kind of funny. Like sometimes we have a barrier of talking, but every time we play together,
Mm-hmm.
we sync up so perfectly. So, that was another reason why I called it universal language.
And you have a single coming out right around the time that this will air. Can you tell me about the single?
Yeah. So I'm actually really excited about this one because I just feel like, when you let people hear a song and they go, "That's an instant hit,"
Mm-hmm.
you can just feel it, and even Big Dog and myself, I just feel like this is the one that's going to go, if it gets in the right hands. So this one's called Bermuda Waters, and it's like a Latin funk fun kind of song, and it's got a little bit of vocals on it, but not much, just
Mm-hmm.
on the hook, singing like Bermuda Waters, and um, it's like Bermuda Waters, sail away with me, just you and me, across the ocean sea. There's like some poems and lyrics in there that are really catchy, and um, it's just a really fun, elaborate song, and it lets me play and experience some improvisational things to show my skill sets there, and at the same time draw you in with a really strong hook that I think is going to be really infectious. So we'll see. I'm excited. It hits January 8th.
Okay, we'll do our part, get it out there, make sure people hear it.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
Not a problem, sir. The other thing that you do is you teach.
Yeah.
What do you are you a tough teacher because you're a player, so you know what that business is all about? How do you translate that to what you instruct the students?
Well, it's funny. I just had this conversation today. I'm not even kidding. Like with my students, we've been lucky to be successful in competitions and state champions for a couple years, and I always come down to I don't settle for a mediocre band,
Mm-hmm.
and they know that, but at the same time they get a little lazy being high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
So every now and then, my style is usually like fun. Let's have fun with it. I'm always praising them when they do something well and letting them know that this is one of the best things I've heard you guys ever play. I mean, that was fantastic. But, and I segue into what was not good. So I think they want to do well and they want to do their best, but you got to let them know that you're not going to settle for, somebody who's just going to be lazy and be in the band and sit there and do nothing. So there's always that challenge with the youth, trying to inspire them to be the best that they possibly can be. So I guess that's the hardest part of the job, is getting them to have a little faith in themselves, encouraging them to want to be better. And they all have the ability to do it. They just have to be pushed a little bit. So I don't know if I'm like the old school slap your hand and
Mm-hmm.
yell at you kind of teacher, but I'm more like, if you're going to be in my band, we're going to have a great band.
Right.
You're not going to be here and you're not going to play at that level. That's unacceptable. So, I demand a lot, but at the same time, we enjoy it and we enjoy the successes.
So now they can get up out of class. I'll use this one. They can download or stream your song. Do they ever
Yeah.
come back to you and go, you know, I wish you would have done this. I wish we could have put this note here or whatever. Do they ever critique you?
I don't think they're, no, not yet.
No?
Not yet, no, but they're usually they're pretty cool. Most of them I think know I play, and they're fans.
Mm-hmm.
And they look on me, they look on like, iTunes Music, or they see that little blue check and
Right.
hey, you're certified, you're a verified artist. And I say, yeah, and then they're more intrigued by that than anything else. But some of them hear me on Watercolors XM radio, and the parents become fans because they hear it on radio and they're like, "That's your teacher," and then they send me pictures of it. So they haven't critiqued me that much, but
So what are you proudest of? The fact of the music you're putting out, or the fact that maybe there's a student of yours who is the next you?
well, there's a couple students that always come back and they'll see me play, and I have one in particular that he always comes back and says, "I want to do exactly what you're doing."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see you play, I want to play. And you were my teacher in high school. I want to teach high school. And to see somebody inspired that much from what, I'm doing, I don't see myself as doing anything. I'm just doing me. So to have that aspect of somebody else's thoughts coming back to me, I'm like, wow, that means a lot to me. I'm glad I inspired you to want to pursue, your dreams, and become an educator and become a player. And you know you can just see that they I had an opportunity
Have an
to take
effect on
that
their
person,
lives.
yeah, take that person, let him do something that he loves to do. And that's happened a few times.
Yeah.
A couple students have gone. I got one student that does like the Philly Pops, and
Mm-hmm.
did some really great gigs and stuff that I never had the opportunity to do. And I was just really happy to see him doing it. It was like, wow, okay, this is good stuff. You know,
So with that being said, what's left for you to do? You already have your music out, you're affecting the lives of students and upcoming players. What else do you want to do?
oh man, that's a tough one. Well, I definitely want to keep making my own music,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, there's nothing more exciting. When I get a new song and I have an idea and I hear it back, I just get so excited. I'm like, yes, that's it. that was the one I was looking for. And then I want to hear it. I play it for my whole family. I'm like, listen to this one. And I get the most satisfaction out of just creating that original music. And I really should have did that a long time ago. But I was, like I said, I was a COVID project.
Mm-hmm.
Started doing that solo stuff as a COVID thing, and playing with Maysa. I've had guys always tell me, where can I get your project? Where's your project? And I said, I don't have one, but now I do. So now I have, now I have two that I'm really proud of, So I think if I can keep presenting that music and bringing stuff out and continuing to teach, I got maybe 10 more years in me. So we'll see.
Well, you'll only be 18 then.
Yeah, I know. 10 more years. Hopefully I can get 10 more years. We'll see.
Okay. All right. All right. How can we follow your music, find your music, download your music, whatever? How can we get your music?
Okay. Well, you can always see me at my website, which is carlcoxsax.com. If you put Carl Cox, you get the DJ from the UK.
We'll talk about that.
So yeah, we've had some problems with that, but so you can go to Instagram and go Carl Sax 1. You can follow me at Carl Sax 1, and then my Facebook, I got a Carl Cox jazz page that you can follow there too. I got to start getting a little better at updating my Facebook, but you can follow me there as well.
Okay. I will add you to my Facebook page so you can see what we're doing here and we can get your music out there.
Okay.
Carl, this has been great. This has been fun.
Oh yeah.
We will continue conversations and talk about many different things, but as long as you're putting out music, if you get it to us, we will get it out there. We're going to hopefully this channel is going to grow where people have the opportunity to hear new music, see new music, so forth and so on. You're a funder. You got your hands full though. I just don't know how you can. I've always wondered how you manage teaching, because that is a 7-day-a-week job.
Yeah.
And then somehow you get your music out there. And when your music is good, I always go, so how much are you rehearsing? Like you said, you've got a 9-year-old at home. Is the basement soundproof where you can go in and kind of shut the hatch and I'm gone for 3 hours or whatever? That is always an amazing thing to me, and I will credit you for that. But first of all, I greatly appreciate all of this.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch and do some other things. And ladies and gentlemen, he's Carl Cox. You'll find his music here on the podcast and different things that we do. So until the next time we talk, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy the stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.